Hey everyone, my name is James Wheatley, and today we're going to talk about something that affects every single resident in the Indian River School District. And this affects our schools, our community, and yes, even our wallets. And to explain everything in a succinct manner, we're all going to go back to school. We're going to break this down into three big questions. 1, how does school funding even work in Delaware? 2, what's up with the latest recent property reassessments and how do they connect to schools? And then 3, what exactly is this referendum proposing and what would it mean for our district? Minus the boring parts. All right, so let's crack the code on how schools in Delaware, including Indian River, actually get their funding. Spoiler, it's not as simple as taxes pay for schools. Think of school funding like a three-legged stool. It only works if all three legs are stable. Those three legs include state funding, federal funding, and local funding. Each one plays a different role in making sure that schools have the resources they need. So let's break it down. State funding is the backbone of the system. A huge portion of the school funding in Delaware comes from the state government. This money comes from income taxes, corporate taxes, and other state revenue sources. Fun fact, Delaware's business-friendly tax policies bring in a lot of revenue, and a portion of that goes towards education. But here's what makes Delaware unique. Delaware utilizes a unit funding system, so instead of just handing schools a check, the state gives money based on student enrollment and specific needs. Each unit represents a certain amount of students. More students equals more units equals more money. Special programs like special education get additional funding based on need. On top of that, the state targets extra funding for things like early childhood education, career and technical programs, and teacher professional development. It's a structured system, but the catch is, it doesn't always grow fast enough to keep up with rising costs. For federal funding, the federal government also chips in, but here's the deal. This money comes with strings attached. For example, Title I funds that we receive help schools with high number of low-income students. IDEA funds support programs for students with disabilities, and multilingual learner programs help our students learning English as a second language. Now, the key thing to remember here is that federal funds can only be used for those specific programs. You can't take IDEA funds, for instance, and use them to, say, buy utilities or a new school bus or something like that. Now, here's where things get interesting. The third major source of funding is local property taxes. Every school district in Delaware gets to set their own property tax rate, but any increase must be approved by voters through a referendum. Indian River currently has the lowest property tax rate in Sussex County, and it's stayed that way since the year 2018. It's great for taxpayers, but it also means that the district has to go to voters if it needs additional funding for things like classroom resources, teacher salaries, day-to-day operations like electricity and maintenance. So those are the three major funding sources. But before we move on, let's quickly talk about impact fees. An impact fee is a charge that developers pay when they build new homes or businesses. That money goes directly to school infrastructure, helping cover costs when new families move in. Here's the catch though. Kent County and Newcastle County have these impact fees. Sussex County does not. School districts like the Indian River School District, for instance, have no control over this. It's up to the county or the state to approve impact fees. And this really matters because the Indian River School District is growing fast. And without impact fees, the district has to lean even more on state funding and property taxes to keep up with the increasing enrollment. That's why understanding how school funding works is so important. Because when a referendum comes up, it's not just about taxes. It's about making sure our schools have the resources they need to keep up with growth and rising costs. Otherwise, they would tip and fall. Thanks for watching part 1 of our 3-part instructional series on the March 20th referendum. Be sure to mark your calendar and make your voice heard by voting on March 20th. You can watch all 3 videos and find more information at www.irsd.net/referendum. Feel free to share this video on social media, drop any questions in the comments. We'll do our best to answer as many as possible.